Okay, this is part 3 of More Patterns and Sequence Notes, and we're going to start or end on looking at Objective 2, which is represent and solve problems involving sequences. Here's our example. Mohammed decided to track the number of leaves on the tree in his backyard each year. The first year, there were 500 leaves. Each year thereafter, the number of leaves was 40% more than the year before. Let n be a positive integer, and let f of n denote the number of leaves on the tree in Muhammad's backyard in the nth year since he started tracking it. So I'm going to look and say, okay, my first year, there's 500 leaves, and each year thereafter, the number of leaves is 40% more. Okay, so I know sometimes when we look at the word more, we're saying, okay, we're adding. However, we have this percent here. And typically when we have a percent, we are multiplying something. Okay. And then we might add later on. But because we are multiplying, that's going to let us know that this is a geometric sequence. So continuing, it says, depending on your answer on the following slide, the recursive definition of the sequence can have one of the two following forms. Okay, so we already decided that this wasn't arithmetic. So we're not going to look at this one. We're going to look at the geometric portion of this. So right here we have the variables a and b. And we need to figure out what those variables are going to equal. So if n is 1, a is going to be what? So let's look back in the problem when n is 1. So n is talking about the years. So if n is the first year, we found that n had 500, the first year had 500 leaves. So that would mean that a would have to be 500. And that's what we're trying to do at the bottom, find the variable, what the values are. So if a is 500 for the first year, then we need to figure out what the formula is going to be when every year after that. So when n is greater than 1. So we're taking the previous term and we're multiplying it by what the common ratio is. So we know that it was 40%, right? We're going to be increasing 40% each year. So we'll get into this portion a little bit later in another unit, but for now I just want to tell you that when you're adding or increasing a percent, you're adding 1 to that. So this turns into 1.40. So we have the 40%, which is 0.40, and we added 1 to that. So this 1.40 is going to be our common ratio. And in this case, it's our B. So the B is going to be 1.40 or 1.4. They both mean the same thing. Let's look at a second example. Barrick received 12 rare stamps, and they were a gift from his grandfather, so he decided to start a stamp collection. From the following week onward, he added 4 new stamps. He added 4 stamps to his collection each week. Okay, so G of n is the total number of stamps that he collected in the nth week of the collection. So what kind of sequence is this? So I'm going to look back and look at this clue. He added 4 new stamps. He added. So we know when we add, that means we are using an arithmetic sequence. Complete the recursive formula for G of 1. So what is he starting with in the first week? How many stamps? He's starting with 12, because that's what his grandfather gave him. And now we're going to find the recursive formula. So we have the previous term, and because this is arithmetic, we are adding. And what are we adding? The common difference. And he's adding 4 every time, every week. So he's adding 4. So that would be your recursive formula. Okay, let's look at this example. Olivia read a book. She started on page 20, and each minute she read 3 pages. Okay, so let G of n be the page Olivia was on at the beginning of the nth minute. What kind of sequence is this going to be? So each minute she reads 3 pages. So every minute you're going to be adding 3 pages to that. So that's going to be arithmetic. And then we're going to figure out what the explicit formula is for G of n. We need to state what the first term was. And that means where she started, on page 20. And now we're going to add, what is our common difference? Our common difference is going to be the 3 pages that we add on for every minute. And then finally, our n minus 1. Okay, so now we can figure out how many pages she's going to be reading, say, after 10 minutes. You would plug in 10 wherever you see n. You subtract 1, so now you have 9. 3 times 9 is 27. 27 plus 20 is 47. So she would be on the 47th page. Next example. Louise's savings account had $50 in its first year. Okay, first year. So let's say A sub 1 is 50. Each year since then, her account accumulated interest. Accumulated means you're adding up interest, and the amount was 15% of the balance at the nth year. Okay. So again, we have a percent, and because she's gaining interest, she's not losing interest, she's gaining interest. So that's going to be either the common difference or the common ratio, okay, of the balance at the nth of the year of the saving. So we're going to figure out what kind of sequence this is. Because we have percents, you're going to multiply the 1.15 by the balance. So because we're multiplying, this means it's a geometric. And now we need to find the explicit formula. So we're starting with our first term, and we're multiplying it by the common ratio raised to n minus 1. And there's your formula. Now you can figure out how much she's earning at the end of, say, again, 10 years. Plug in 10 into the equation and then solve. Okay, Chin got 6 rabbits to raise on his farm. From the following month forward, the population doubled every month. So what does this mean, doubled? It means it's being multiplied by 2 every month. So again, multiplied lets us know that we have a geometric sequence. And now it's asking us to find the recursive formula. So we need to first state what the first term is, and that means where he started, and that was the 6 rabbits. Now we take the previous term, because it's recursive, and we're going to multiply by the common difference. The common ratio, actually. This time is the common ratio. And that would be 2. And that's it. The previous term times 2. Okay. So we have some practice questions for you to do. You're going to answer these 2 questions, or actually there's 3. And then you're going to do your check for understanding for this objective. And then we are at the end, so there were only 2 objectives for these notes, even though it was a very long set of notes. If you feel confident and you did well on the check for understandings, or if you want to do the check for understandings again, just to make sure, feel free to do so. But if you are ready, you can go on to your Summit platform and take your focus area for this set of notes. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know.